And welcome back to All Pucked Up, our season finale. Since unbelievable, we're at the end of September, and I'm saying it's the end of the season. I feel like we should be talking about
we should be talking preseason.
This is just so weird. It really is. And speaking of weird, we're missing somebody, guys. Your normal host, Rich Masucci, is not here. I got some bad news. He was sent down to the minors. He's out.
He's got waived.
He's on waivers for the purpose of giving him his unconditional release.
Sad part is nobody claimed him.
Yeah, I know, right? He cleared waivers in an instant, like that. No, I'm kidding. He just couldn't be here today, so I'm gonna try to fill his rather sizable shoes. I'm Scott Kinville, your temporary host for today, along with my good pals Yosh and Chris Mazzotti.
You.
Yosh, what's been going on, pal?
Nothing. I was thinking about wearing my Sabres jersey today to kind of give the Dallas Stars some good luck. But I didn't want to have any comments from some hurt Sabres fans. So
we could have put a crease on the floor, and you could have put your foot in it. Yeah.
No, good weekend.
Yeah,
it was gorgeous, warm here.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. What a beautiful weekend we had here, guys.
It's all over this week, though.
Yeah. We took a little advantage of the weather and did a little hike up in the Adirondacks.
Yeah. Oh,
nice.
the same. We did the same.
Beautiful. Leaf changing and all that. So, Chris Mazzotti, what about you? What
I did not leave the house this week.
You did not leave the house. That's okay, too, right? At least you had to open up the window and enjoy the fresh air, though, right?
I closed all my windows and locked them, and they're kind of a pain to lock up because the top one slips, and I got to, hold them like this and, do the locks.
Right.
And I took my fans out a couple weeks ago because it was freezing here.
Yep.
It was 32. Yeah. We literally had a night of frost here in the city. And so I was just like, well, that's the end of summer and lock up all the windows. So
see, I got to be 100%
I have a fan
candid.
going, but my windows were not open.
I refuse to take my air conditioners out until mid-October because you always get that 3-4 day freak of nature where in October you get 90-degree days.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so cold, Scott. I had my wife turn the heat on.
Yeah, we turned.
My wife did the same thing.
Too.
I was like, I can't do it anymore. She was shocked. I mean, she loves it, but she was shocked. She's like, it's September.
Right.
You're going to turn on. I normally don't turn it on until November.
Yeah.
That same thing.
So I was just like, no, screw it. Put it on.
I tried to put a sweatshirt on, and she did, and she's like, well, it's still cold. We'll put another one on. I don't want to pay the furnace bill.
I had a hoodie on and a blanket, and I'm freezing, and I'm just like, forget it.
Yeah.
You just need to run it to get the dampness out. That's just when it gets chilly like that.
Did you go to Toronto, and Toronto came back and said no goal? So speaking of hockey, when last we left everybody, we were talking about the end of the last round. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's kind of dive back into that just as a recap before we get into the finals. So where do you guys want to start?
I called Dallas winning that game.
It's you did. I'm sure Mazzotti did too. Mazzotti had Dallas winning that series too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a great series. It really was. I will say for the Avalanche, nice comeback, right? But when you're down to your third-string goaltender,
there was no chance.
And half their team was missing, I mean, they were lucky they kept that game as close as they did, really.
Avalanche, that was 2 rounds ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your favorite team.
Wow. I'm way.
Vegas.
You know what? I am
Sweet
way off.
Golden
Knights.
Sorry about that. Wow. Oh, my good God.
Those sweet Golden Knights.
You know what? Oh, my God. I'm sorry about that. Good God. See, this is the problem with being live. You can't edit that out either.
We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
So,
you know what it was? You were dreaming. That's why you thought it was all a dream. That
it was just
the
a nightmare.
Knights got eliminated.
Turns out it was a nightmare.
It was good.
Now, the Vegas Golden Knights did an unceremonious exit again. And I see in Vegas land, they're already starting the arguments about whether or not to keep Fleury, which is great. I think it's kind of funny that this is the first bit of turmoil that franchise is really seeing. But what do you guys think? Are they going to keep Lehner, or what are they going to do?
Well, it's funny because there was a leak that said he had agreed to a 5-year extension.
And he goes,
it was Dan
no.
Pagnotta from the fourth period that said, oh, no, it's already in principle done.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's like, wait a minute. I didn't agree with that.
I didn't know anything about this.
And it really made no sense, right? Because they said he was getting 5 years for $5 million. Now he got $5 million for 1 year from Chicago and a prove-it contract.
Yeah,
right?
I was like,
why would he take the same amount of money?
Yeah, he just made the conference final.
Right.
Why would he all of a sudden be like, yeah, I'll take a pay cut to stay in Vegas?
Sure.
I get Vegas is a new arena. It's a cool place and the weather's nice, but
they're going to have to do something because
I would think he could get at least $8 million. On the open
I would
market?
say so.
7-8 mil.
But it's not going to be a super long contract, I don't think.
No.
I would think at that kind of money, he would get 3-4 years tops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you know what? Really, with goalies, especially when they're getting to be almost 30 years old, you don't want to go longer than 3 or 4 years.
No.
You really don't. Especially, it's just the nature of the position, right?
Absolutely.
And especially with the league trending more and more towards you have to have 2 solid goaltenders.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be you could have one workhorse and let that workhorse play like 65 games, and then you throw your backup in for the remainder and just hope for the best.
Yeah.
Those days are pretty much gone. You have to have a 1A and a 1B. And with them still having Fleury under contract for one more year at $7 million, Lehner wanting $8 million, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow because we've talked about this 100 times already. The cap stayed flat at 81. So you're going to tie up $14-15 million in your goaltending alone?
Yeah, that ain't going to happen.
That's tough, especially with the big contracts they've already got on the books. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Vegas, I think, honestly, they were jinxed by their fans. And I'm glad. Because I see these fans online, these Vegas fans, Dallas, blah, blah, blah. Dallas stinks. Vegas is going to win this. They got the cup. We're going to another cup. Not so fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Dallas is going to have a say in this.
Exactly. And you know what? You know what this series proved more than anything else is, Vegas is, let's face it, they're a very top-heavy team.
Yeah.
Right? So once you get past that first and second line, it's a precipitous drop-off. It's huge. But Dallas is another one of those teams, much like the Islanders. They roll 4 lines. They play a solid system. And I'm telling you, it's been proven time and time and again that type of system works in the playoffs. It's great for the regular season if you have all these high-scoring, flashy players and it's all flash, but you got no bash in the playoffs, you're done.
You don't even think about it when you think of a team like, say, the Capitals that won it a couple years ago, right? You think they're pretty much a 3-line team. They weren't in those playoffs. They were rolling those 4 lines.
Sure.
And who was scoring all their goals? Devontae Smith-Pelly.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Jay Beagle was a superstar in the playoffs.
Jay Beagle got a huge contract off of that. So.
Talk about parlaying one playoff season, right?
Oh, yeah, he's getting bought out, too, probably. So Dallas makes it in. It's great for Dallas. And then we got, the other side?
Well, the Islanders and the Lightning. That's a heartbreaker for the Islanders.
It was.
It was. They were like the little engine that could, and then all of a sudden it couldn't.
Listen, you said Brock Nelson was going to make a difference. Brock Nelson needs to be able to bury a breakaway.
I know.
When he didn't bury that breakaway,
that was it, right?
I said that's it. When the last time I saw a team not bury a breakaway in overtime and lose? 2014 final. The Rangers had many breakaways.
Exactly.
And they weren't scoring anything on quick. And I'm like, you can't do that. You can't do that.
No.
Because you just getting the breakaway gives the other team so much push to get things done.
Exactly.
That the second the goalie stops that shot, whatever happens, even if the guy gets a shot. I say that because, apparently in Tampa, you could just pull guys down on a breakaway and nothing gets called. So, but, man, when Brock Nelson missed that, I'm like, that's it. That's it. They're done.
Yep.
It's too bad, too. It really is. But I think, this year is proving more than anything else, especially from the Tampa Bay end anyway. For years, they've been like the golden boys of the NHL, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, every year, they're the cup winner. They're the cup winner. And every year, they manage to fall short. Well, if you notice this year, they're finally starting to play with a little bit of grit in the playoffs, too.
Well, they got more
finally got a
guys to
little
be able to do
sandpaper. And then now, all of a sudden, they're not going to get pushed around so much anymore. So that even when one component's down, the other component has picked it back up.
Bringing in Maroon was a big help.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
They needed physicality.
Even a guy
in the
like Blake
playoffs.
Coleman.
Yeah.
Not a big guy, but he's a gritty little guy.
That Goudreau's
Sorry, Philadelphia fans. I mean,
Goudreau's been playing like that.
Yeah.
He's been
Barclay
playing.
Goodrow. Yeah. And they thought they were crazy giving up a first rounder for him. They still might have been. But you know what? Those are the kind of guys that you need. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you overpay to get that type of asset because it's all about lifting Lord Stanley's cup. And if that's what it takes, you know what? You go through the pains for a few years and not having a first-round pick because you got the ends to the means. The means to an end. Yeah. I'm all screwed up today here. Wow. And I didn't even get all pucked up yesterday. That's amazing. But anyways, it was a great series. I think the Islanders have got a good thing going for them going forward. Obviously, they're going to need a little bit more scoring, but we'll see what happens down the road.
Yeah.
So what that leads us to is the Tampa Bay and Dallas Stars for the finals. So
it's final.
Yeah.
So don't get it twisted.
Right. Well,
we're going to have Canadian fans calling in. Like,
Hey, listen, I'd be happy if anybody calls in.
You
all
know,
right?
this is a little thing that bugs me about the Stanley Cup final is because at the same time the NBA finals are going on. So I looked that up to like see like what is the deal with this once and for all. And the answer is it's right both ways.
Really?
I don't know why people get bent on it. Yeah, because it's just in your perspective and how you look at it. If you look at it as it's the last round, then it's the final.
Right.
But if you look at it as a collection of individual games, then it's the finals.
That's
and
true.
So the NBA looks at it that way, and the NHL looks at it as it's a collective thing because you don't get anywhere without the 4 games.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's very interesting.
I learned something today.
I know, right?
I was like, what is
And now
it?
all of a
Like,
sudden-
is this, I thought I wanted to blame Canada, honestly.
Right.
I'm like, this is a Canadian thing. Is this like putting you in the word that doesn't need it? Like,
Yeah, right.
favorite or color? Why do we have U's in there, Canada? I don't know. Like,
Honor.
I thought that was going to be the final thing, but no.
You know, now I remember NBC Saturday morning cartoons, and they would have like the little lesson for a commercial, and then it'd be the more you know, and the rainbow with the star goes
Yes.
across the
Yep.
street. It feels like it's one of those moments.
Yes.
Right? So now that we got that all out of the way, has this series been pretty much what you guys have expected, or? I know from my point of view, I kind of thought that this was how it was going to be. I'm actually surprised it's made 6 games.
Yeah, I thought
Perfectly honest
Tampa was
with
going
you.
to run away with it.
I mean, Tampa Bay just started getting hot at the right time once again, you know. And I mean, granted, Dallas has put up a good fight, other than what was it, Game 2? Was it? No, Game 3. I'm sorry, Game 3 where they just got blown out of the building, and that's when I really saw. I'm like, oh wow, if Tampa's going to just keep firing on all cylinders like this.
Well, that was the Stamkos game. Because
No, it was Game 4, wasn't it?
No, Stamkos was game 4.
that was the game they got blown out in.
No, but Game 3 was a rout too, wasn't it? 5-2, I think it was.
Yeah, it was closer game though.
Yeah.
Like I don't think the game got out of hand later.
Right.
But I think like through 2 periods it was tight.
Yeah.
You know, the 3rd period Tampa came out and dominated.
Yeah.
Right.
But well, they pushed real hard and then Dallas said, "We'll just see you next game."
Yeah. Right.
You know what
That's
I mean?
it.
I mean,
Cut
I
it out.
watched the last 12, 13 minutes of that game. Dallas is just doing laps.
Yeah.
Like, but Dallas came out and won that first game. That was good on Dallas.
Yeah.
You know, nobody saw
Exactly.
that coming.
You know what, though? That's not too unsurprising. Because you got to remember something. Tampa just got off a rough 7-game series. So they were with the Islanders, right? So
And Dallas
had been resting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that wasn't too awful shocking for me.
Gave Tampa a little bit of their medicine.
A little
back
bit.
at 'em.
A little bit, you know. But it was also kind of once you saw this matchup on paper, oh, good God. You know, because Tampa is much deeper than Vegas. Let's be perfectly honest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Offensively, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even on defense.
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
don't
that,
get me wrong
that
about
well runs
Tampa's
deep.
defense.
You know,
But
and
You
honestly,
just hate Shattenkirk.
we'll get to him.
I was going to say,
We'll
how
get
much
to
did that hurt your feelings when he scored that game-winning goal?
First of all, how does everybody not know by now? How does everybody not know? How does every defender on Dallas, on the Islanders, on any team facing Tampa, anybody facing Kevin Shattenkirk, he's going to try to shoot through your legs. That's all he ever does. He did that on the Rangers, and every time he hit a shin pad or a crotch or a jock or a stomach, he never got it. He never got it through. This is the first one he got through in like 100 games. Okay, and then everyone's like, "Wow, great shot, Kevin." It's like, yeah, great.
But Owen might have been shocked that it just got through. Like,
Did
whoa,
you even
what
hear?
was that?
I was reading. You know, all these Tampa fans. You should be thanking the Rangers so much for buying him out because he was dog shit for the Rangers. He was garbage. What do? Played 3 games, broke his ankle.
Yep.
Came back 22 games later, did nothing. The rest of the season was a dumpster. It was so bad in the first 6 weeks that he was back that the Rangers decided, we got to tear this down. That's what they did.
Yep.
It was 6 weeks. Let's see what we could do now and make another run. And it was like, we can't make a run. We got nobody on the back end with this guy.
Well,
we thought he was going to be our leader. But here's the thing. Shattenkirk himself has admitted that buyout gave him a kick in the ass.
I'm sure it did.
You're welcome, Tampa.
I'm sure it did.
You're welcome. Because that's why he's returned to somewhat of his old form. But it's because he played so bad and was so ashamed of being bought out that he thought he was this big NHL All-Star that now he's kicked himself into gear.
Well, you got to remember too, coming to the Rangers was like a dream come true for him.
Yeah, that was
his team growing up.
Yeah,
grew
You'd
up just
think
outside
he'd
of New
fight
York
harder
City.
for us then, Scott.
But here's the thing, though. But here's the thing, and this happened as soon as he got traded to the Capitals at that trade deadline, where the Caps gave up a first-round pick for him. Kevin Shattenkirk is basically a very good power play defenseman. That's about it. You're not
when you're hitting guys in the leg.
But you're not going to get any stalwart defensive play out of him.
No, he's not.
But the thing is, when the Rangers gave him that huge contract, they're acting like he's some number one defenseman. He's going to be a game changer and all that. It's like, no, the guy's a liability.
Score either.
Right. And if he's not scoring, he's completely useless.
Yeah. And then you're like, why are we paying this guy $5 million to do nothing?
Exactly.
To do laps and get past like a cone out there.
But the thing is, on a team like Tampa, where he can be buried down the lineup, he's a great asset.
Yep.
You know, he can get you that offense.
I love
sometimes.
how Tampa's whole GM strategy is, who just got bought out?
I know, right?
We'll offer him $1 million to come to Tampa.
Yeah.
Like that's all they have to do because of the weather.
No, they're already getting paid anyway.
The weather and the taxes, just come to Tampa.
Yeah.
We'll give you $1 million. You get to keep the whole $1 million.
And by the way, you get a chance to play for the Cup too. Oh boy, that's a hard offer.
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know. You know, I think I'd rather go up to Winnipeg and freeze. You know.
And he can do it again next year because the Rangers are paying him so much next year that he can take another tiny contract for Tampa if he wants to.
I don't think he will, though.
I think he'll want to get paid.
I think he'll take it. I think he'll take it because I think he knows, and I know, and you know, Kevin, you're dog shit. You're done. Your days are over. And so he'll take whatever he could get at this point because if he takes another big contract or somebody's stupid enough to give him one, he's just going to end up – nobody's going to give him one anyway.
He's not going to get a high-dollar contract, but he's going to want term.
That's
what he's going to want is
term.
How
old is he, 32, 31?
32, I think you're right.
Yeah, he's not getting
he's going to want term. That's what his big deal is going to be. So
good luck with that.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Sorry, they fired the guy in Arizona. Good luck.
So speaking of potential free agents to be, since we're on the Tampa-Dallas series.
Wait, I want to get to one thing about this Tampa series.
Okay.
The refereeing has been awful. Awful.
When isn't it?
It's been extra bad. Extra bad. When you pull down multiple times, guys have been pulled down. Sagan in overtime. Breakaway. Right out the gate. Breakaway. Yank. No call.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean.
But that's kind of a common thing in the playoffs sometimes, too, though. They like to swallow their whistle and
let them
play. That's been the whole.
But here's my point, Scott. The night before that in overtime, they call Ben on a phantom slew foot.
I know.
Phantom slew foot gets called in overtime on a play in the neutral zone that didn't have any effect on anything.
Right.
It didn't have effect on Tampa going the other way. It didn't have an effect on puck possession. It didn't even favor Dallas like there's a guy on the ice. Ben went down too. They both went down out of the play.
Right.
Right.
You know why?
They called that one.
And it might be a flimsy reason, but the only possible explanation for that being a perceived slew foot is considered to be a dangerous play. Right. So with player safety the way it is right now, and they want to try to eliminate any kind of hint of an unsafe play, got to protect the players, right?
Yeah, well, maybe you should.
Which, like I said, that might be flimsy.
Well, maybe if you're the ref 2 zones away,
right,
you should leave that to the ref that's 5 feet away to call.
And you know what else?
Because obviously that ref didn't see a slew foot, but you think you saw it from the face-off circle in the other zone.
And here's the thing with that, too, is linesmen actually have, they're part of the conference. They don't have a final say, but they can turn around and say, listen, I saw that play. I didn't see it. I mean, what's going on here, Obviously, like I said, they don't have the final.
I'm so glad you got to the linesmen because they're such dog shit that they can't see an icing.
Well,
they can't tell the difference between an icing and the puck hitting the net, hitting the goalie, and going off to the side, and they go, "Yeah, that's icing." Oh, really? Really? Is it? Like, let's see the replay. Well, it clearly hits Vasilevsky in the toe, and goes off to the corner. Like, you could, if it hit the post and went into the corner, apparently that still is
that could be an icing as long as the goalie doesn't touch it.
Right.
There is no way. I'm telling you the statistical fraction of that puck hitting the post from all the way down the ice and then still traveling beyond the goal line. You would have to hit it at such the perfect angle on just the edge of the post that it wouldn't have looked like it did.
Right.
This puck went 90 degrees practically to the right of Vasilevsky. Then you can't even look at the replay. You can't talk to the coach. Everyone's just like the ref is talking to the coach. He's like, well, the linesman called it. I don't know what. Well, you go over and tell him, hey, man, I just saw the tablet the coach was holding up for me. It clearly hit the guy in the toe. Let's just call it no harm, no foul, face-off at center ice. Nobody has a problem with the face-off at center ice.
You know what I'm actually
Even
surprised
John Cooper was fucking mad about it. And he should be, because I don't care who you're rooting for in this. But if a ref can't call a goddamn icing, get the hell out of the building. Why are you on the ice? Why are you in the way of play when you can't even spot an icing? He can't spot an icing. He can spot a phantom slew foot, though. What? It's terrible. It's awful. I can't take it. I really can't. I know I get pissed about this every year, but every year it's just so bad. And I think this is the worst I've ever seen it. To have multiple guys pulled down on multiple clear breakaways, clearly tripped, clearly hooked. And NBC doesn't even help you out. NBC's sitting there going I guess they're letting them play. NBC should be like, what the hell are these refs doing?
No, they got to be
say that, maybe the NHL steps in and gets their act together.
I highly doubt it, but
no way.
There's no way that. But you know what? Those type of icing calls, I'm actually really surprised that they don't have an official in the score box, right in between the penalty boxes there, with the tablet like you were just talking about, and that can turn around and say, whoa,
is icing reviewable?
You don't know. It's not.
Why is it not reviewable? If this is a difficult thing, we need to make it. We need to just make everything reviewable for the refs only.
If we can,
official review, just like you review every goal, just like every offsides on every goal is reviewed now, just the same thing.
So are 5-minute majors.
5-minute majors are even reviewed now.
I
get that. Why couldn't they review this?
Because you want to know why? Because they don't want to extend the game out too much longer than it already is.
Too much longer. You can see this. Hit him in the toe. Center ice. Wow, that took too long. Wow, that took 15 seconds.
Right.
Oh, geez.
Well.
Sorry. Meanwhile, we got goalies pulling crap on their pads and their helmets and whatever else to get extra time in between icings. But we can't stop the play.
The helmets mysteriously come off.
Oh, the helmet throw? Yeah.
I've always that too.
Trust me, nobody's better at it than Hank. Okay, he's done it 1 billion and one times.
Oh, quick will give him a run for his money on that one too. It's like, dude, just tighten your strap down, would you? My God.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait, I got to make it go through the blade.
Hold on.
I hit it under the skate.
Wait a minute.
Hang on, let me redo this.
So speaking of goalies and speaking of this series, so Anton Hudobin, let's face it, has been a big part of Dallas.
Conn Smythe contender, in my opinion.
Huge. So he, interestingly enough, is a free agent at the end of the season. Now he's 34 years old.
He's playing really good.
Exactly. So what do you think? Does he end up back? Because Dallas actually has a decent amount of cap space.
Yeah.
They can actually afford to offer him a decent contract. You think he stays?
If they offer him a good deal.
The conundrum for the Dallas Stars.
4 years at $6.5 million.
Oh my God, you jump all over that. But don't forget, they still got to pay Ben Bishop for 2 or 3 more seasons as well.
What are they paying him?
And he's at $5.5.
Yeah.
So I don't think they can go up to 6. I really don't think, especially in this,
6.25?
This time of flat cap. I think he'd be lucky to get $4 million per season. That's on a.
When's Heiskanen due? Year after next.
Year after next.
Yeah.
So
have to keep
that's
that in
good.
mind.
Get the Bridge truck ready on that one.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's taking one, man. I'm telling you, I think Bridge deals are done.
I think he'll still be a restricted free agent though. So that restricted free agent system has got these guys just under lock and key, really.
Yeah.
Listen, man, he takes them to arbitration, they're in trouble.
True.
So he should be one of the top paid defensemen in the league, in my opinion.
But here's the thing,
absolutely.
though, too. A lot of that's going to depend on how much this cap's going to end up going up. Because remember, well, keep in mind though, it's flat this season and it's flat next season. So
and then it goes down the season after that.
So
likely.
there it is, right? So you go to arbitration. Arbitrators look at the entire picture. They're like, yeah, you've been fantastic, but if that money simply isn't available, guess what, pal? You may want $11 million. You're not going to get it.
The arbitrators, look at the position players around the league.
I get it.
It's just like the franchise tag in NFL.
I understand that.
So if contracts are still floating out there, like the Shattenkirk deal, and I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
Other guys getting paid too much to be defensemen.
I actually tend to disagree with you there. I think more and more for the next year or two, you're going to see more and more bridge deals, especially from younger players, because they're going to want to get to a UFA status when that cap is finally going back up. And then they can really cash in.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can turn around and say, hey, all right, I'll help you out. I'll take a 2-year deal for, let's just say, we'll use the magical $6 million number just as a starting point, right? All right, I'll help you out. I'll take 2 years, $6 million. Fine. Now, that's going to get me to UFA when all the TV money starts kicking in because the TV contract's going to be up.
Yep.
And they're already saying the TV contract this time around is going to be a heck of a lot bigger because they're talking about getting multiple networks involved now.
ESPN
doing ESPN,
involved.
NBC, the worst, much like all the other pro sports do, right? So there's going to be more hockey-related revenue because of that TV contract.
Oh, that just means more blackout restrictions. Yay!
Yippee! Well, hey. But with that said, that means that cap's going to go up. So why wouldn't you eat it for a couple of years? You're still getting paid. I mean, it's not like,
this is hockey, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, though.
Can end any game.
Just think about it for a second. If you can take a 2-year deal, and we'll just say $6 million per year, but that eats up the rest of your RFA years, right?
And you get to stay on a contender.
Exactly. You're going to hit UFA status at about 26, 27 years old, and you got that kind of resume? Pay me.
Yep.
Pay me. And you know what? It's going to be substantial because you still got the contracts out there like Carlson, Doughty. I mean, granted, those were overpays on all ends, no doubt. But
the Carlson was hilarious.
Oh,
I know, right, boy? I want the Sharks just got to eat that, too. Oh, my God.
You just set yourself a hole for the next 7 years.
And the funniest part was Carlson almost ended up in Dallas. They wouldn't give up Heiskanen. How smart was that, huh?
Right. Beautiful.
Oh, my God. So, so anyways, what do we think? Hudobin, you say what, 4 years? At 34 years old?
I think he's probably looking for 4 years.
I think he gets 2 years from Dallas at $5 million. $5 million per.
I bet you they offer him 2.
Because, like
you
said,
he's going to want to make less than Bishop still, being the starter?
Who knows? Things could change next year. Things could change. I mean, listen. How many times have we seen it in the past where a goalie goes on an incredible run in the playoffs?
You know what?
And then comes crashing back to earth.
Here's the problem.
I'll give you a classic example, right? Remember when Ottawa went to the conference finals, what was it, 3-4 years ago? They had all the Eastern Conference finals. Who was their goaltender?
Trey Anderson?
The Hamburglar.
The Hamburglar.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? The Hamburglar. He was unbeatable. Almost knocked out Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. He was a win away from making the Stanley Cup Finals. You know where he's playing right now? Rochester.
Yeah, but you also got to remember Carlson was also in those games, and Carlson was playing good at the time.
Yeah.
Carlson was.
That was his last good season.
I get that, but still. Yeah. I mean, you look at the numbers Hammond was putting up, and he didn't really get a big contract after that either. I think he got like a 2 or 3 year contract.
I think people learned from the David Clarkson incident.
Yeah, but there's a ton of examples out there.
I think that's the biggest one. That the contract had to be dished around the league because it was so bad.
Right.
It was
the league's hot potato.
A good playoffs with the Devils, and then all of a sudden this guy's getting, what did he get, $7.5 million?
Yeah.
It was like, what?
Yeah.
It's like a third line guy, if that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's Charlie. He's going to be the face of the franchise, change our team around, give him some grit. Yeah, you give him a lot of grit. That's why you had to go sweeping in the basement that year.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So I think a lot of teams have learned from that. But then again, you never know. It didn't help out Devontae Smith-Pelly after he won the Cup,
Yeah.
and he was big in those
he was.
run.
But, and there's the thing where you have to be careful about playoff runs. Right, because it just seems like, and it's every year it seems. And there's always somebody that just comes out of nowhere.
And this one is particularly special. So I don't know how much emphasis you could give. The guy had a great playoffs. He also didn't have to travel.
Well, and that's I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you guys that
Dallas and Tampa every day.
I wanted to ask you guys this because there's been an awful lot of chatter on hockey social media, right, about. This year's playoffs would be the hardest one to win.
I agree.
Why?
Because there's no travel. Everybody came in healthy generally, minus Stamkos. And
that makes it
the
harder
few guys
to win?
that decided to not come, not play. Travis Hamonic comes to mind, stuff like that. That greatly changes Calgary's team having Hamonic in there. So I'll give it to, but I think not having to travel, the majority of guys being healthy, and just being able to play every day. And everybody was on the same thing.
See,
nobody had played for months. You know what I mean? Like, nobody had like a nice push coming in. Like, everybody had the same week to qualify or play round robin.
Yep.
As we see, maybe the round robin people got a little extra kick to go forward. As we saw all of them win the first round. Right? All of them? Just about. Boston won?
Yep.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
All of them won.
Right.
So.
See, now I got to disagree with you. I thought, honestly, and I might be the minority opinion on this one, I think it actually made it a little bit easier. And I'll tell you, now you're right when you say everybody had the same break. Everybody had the same warm-up, so to speak, and all that. But let's be honest here. There are teams that are better than other teams no matter what you do. It's just the way it is, right? And I think not having to travel actually made things a lot easier for these guys because you're not –
for the better teams,
especially pretty well, yeah. I mean, but –
and that's why the round robin shook out like that?
Especially in a Western Conference scenario, right? Because Western Conference teams do travel more because they're more spread out, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're doing a 7-game series in the Western Conference – you're on a plane 3-4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of times you're changing time zones, and that after a while, especially once you get deeper into the playoffs, that wears on you.
Mm-hmm.
That wears on you, having to get on a plane all the time, living out of a suitcase, sleeping in hotel rooms all the time. Granted, that's what they're doing now, but they're not having to check out all the time and the constant hustle and bustle, right? And from what I understand, from what I've read, life in the bubble, while kind of boring, hasn't been too awful bad because your every need is catered to.
Yeah.
There is no – you don't want for nothing inside there, which is fine. I mean, I would expect that. Asking guys to be away from their families for that long at a stretch. Sure, absolutely. But with that said, at the end of the day, they're getting a heck of a lot more rest than they normally would in a playoff scenario.
Although they've had to play a lot of back-to-back games.
But they do that in the regular season, too.
Yeah,
and
don't forget do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, they don't do it in the playoffs, but they've also had a 4-month break.
Yeah.
So it's like being
point,
it's like having 2 off seasons.
At this point in the Stanley Cup final, having a back-to-back game, like that's
but both teams got to deal with it.
I know everybody had to deal with it. I don't think it's right.
Just like every team had to deal with the referees. Sorry, I had to.
Really, only Dallas has to deal with it.
I had to. I couldn't resist. Sorry.
Every time Dallas farts at a Tampa player, they get called for it. So I don't know what to tell you. And it's just I think honestly it's not an asterisk. I'll say that much. It's not an asterisk.
Yeah,
I don't think it's an asterisk.
I don't think it's an asterisk.
Whether you think it's harder or easier, it still is the same thing you just said. Everybody had to do it. Everybody had to play by it. However, the short-seasoned ones, this I don't consider a short season. What did we finish at? 72 games?
It was something.
Everybody was about 70,
right around there. That's
right?
Yeah.
So it's 10 games short of a full season. That's not a really shortened season.
No.
That's not 42 games in 1995.
That's like getting an extra week of vacation at your job.
2012 or 2010 or whatever it was, where Chicago goes on this great run, wins first 20 games.
You mean their half cup?
And they have it clinched by mid-February.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that those deserve their asterisks.
The Devils 95 Cup.
Yeah, the Devils 95 Cup's the biggest, shortest one. So definitely that one.
Yeah.
But this one, I don't think I've seen a lot of things online. Oh, this one should have an asterisk like those ones, and a lot of people I see say no. They say no. It's the hardest one because everybody was healthy. Everybody was starting at the same block. Basically. So I think it's hard. I think those things you're mentioning.
I see it both ways, I guess.
Do make
right
it easier. I'll give you that it makes it easier on the teams and maybe the teams with more skilled players.
Right.
But we see that they didn't really phase. The Islanders kind of put that to rest too. They beat a bunch of teams.
But let's be honest too. I mean, the teams that made the conference finals were all good teams.
Yeah.
There wasn't. So what I'm saying is, you didn't see any 12C teams,
bubble teams left.
You had your upsets in your opening rounds, but like you always do.
I don't think the reason why the Islanders lost to Tampa was because, Tampa had benefited more from the rest and the non-travel than the Islanders.
No, let's be honest. As much as I like the makeup of the Islander team, Tampa just has more talent.
And look at that previous round. 3 of those games went to 7 games.
Yeah.
So I think it's been very even, pretty much across the board. We could be looking at a completely different bracket right now. Had all those teams that won those game 7s lost the other way around.
Could be.
You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think that the best team or the more skilled team won. I think Colorado is a more skilled team than Dallas. They didn't win.
Well, I mentioned in my jump the gun beginning here, Colorado just got decimated by injuries at the end of their series.
Yeah. And Dallas is banged up to all hell.
Dallas is banged up, but my God, Colorado was on their third string goalie.
They mentioned it the other night in the broadcast how banged up Dallas was, and I'm like, I don't know Dallas's roster that well, so I'm like, let me go look. Who's missing tonight? Who am I not seeing? And it's like Como, Faxa. It's like a 7-guy list. It's like, oh yeah, these guys are all. I didn't even notice they were gone, but yeah, they're
and of course, it's got to be Corey Perry that gets the game winner the other night, right? Of course. So, with that said, since we're at 12:40 already. So, with that said,
are we on a hard out, Z? Yeah. All right.
Oh, hey, all right, cool. So, what do you guys think? Tampa Bay do it tonight?
I'll say this much. I said this online, if Dallas pushes a game 7, I think you got to give the Conn Smythe to Khudobin.
Yeah.
I don't see any.
Even though
I know Vasilevsky's been good.
No,
and whatnot.
not Vasilevsky. You know who actually my pick from Tampa Bay would be? Braden Point without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. That kid has been unbelievable.
Yeah. I think Point, Gord, Hedman are the top contenders from Tampa. I think the top contenders from Dallas are Pavelski and Khudobin. But I'm a big fan of them giving it to the goalie who played the best.
It's happened
because
before.
I don't think there's any more position that's more important than the goalie.
I think there's a lot to be said for that.
And if you look at it like, if everybody wants to say how great Martin Brodeur was, he didn't win the Conn Smythe that 2003 year. Who did? Jaguar. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
look at Ron Hextall in '87.
Ron Hextall deserved it in '87.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
He was the only reason they got to Game 7.
Please.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's be real.
As the Oilers, right?
Jeez, the true David Goliath.
I have a Ron Hextall autograph on a Hershey Bears puck.
Really?
Yep.
Nice.
You could barely make it out. It's so old and worn down a little bit. But it's still
awesome.
there. And I was like, I found all these pucks I had autographed from back in the Utica Devils days in the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
And I was like, why the hell do I have a Hershey Bears puck? And whose little autograph is this? It's squished in because the Hershey Bears logo took up so much of the puck. I'm like, it's a little worn off. Yeah. And I'm like, why do I have a Hershey Bears puck? I'm trying to think about, and I remembered when I got it. I was there. I used to go to their practices and try to get autographs from the guys on their hockey cards and stuff.
Yeah.
And occasionally the visiting team would be there for, the game that night, and they would be practicing as well, just after the Devils came off the ice or whatever. And on this one time, Ron Hextall was down for a conditioning stint.
Oh,
from
nice.
an injury. And so I went to go get his autograph on a Devil's Puck.
Oh.
And he was like, I'm not signing that thing.
He didn't have a stick in his hand to slash you with, did he?
he was already in plain clothes.
Yeah.
But he went into the Hershey locker room, came back with it's a beat up Hershey Bears puck. It's not even brand new. And he signed that. He's like, there you go.
That's really cool.
Like,
That's awesome.
Like, right? Like,
yeah.
So he's got a special place in my heart for that one. But that Conn Smythe is a big notch in his career.
Yeah. Oh, sure it is.
You know what I mean?
Sure it is.
And some people care about the Conn Smythe. Some people don't.
That's a popularity contest.
What I mean? Sidney Crosby
really
has more of them than he should.
He didn't deserve it against the Sharks. Not that 16.
He didn't. Well, that was the Russ series, right?
Right.
Yeah, Russ definitely deserved it that year.
Yep.
And
did you see? Remember that when they announced him as the winner, he just kind of looked, what? Huh? Me? You're kidding, right?
I think he got it in 09. I'd say that one maybe he was deserving of. I think he had a good series that year, but like that Rust one really rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, are you kidding me? He had like 3 points in the final, and he gets the Conn Smythe.
Let's put it this way. With the Conn Smythe, if there is a superstar even in contention for it, it doesn't matter what like some of the lesser-known guys have done.
My favorite Conn Smythe story is Mark Messier telling the story about Brian Leach winning that. So Brian Leach was the first American to ever win a Conn Smythe in '94. And Mark Messier was super excited that he won it. And then Brian Leach is like, I don't give a crap.
Exactly.
We won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I came here for the Stanley Cup.
I'll look at that later. Give me the cup.
This leaf on a box. Like, I don't care about this. Like, and Messie's like, so you got the Conn Smythe? And he was just like, dude. We won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe that was Mark Messier's one that got away.
Yeah.
He never got a Conn Smythe. But
so if you're going to pick a player from Tampa Bay, because I think we can all pretty much agree that it'd be Hudobin for Dallas.
Absolutely.
Right? Heiskanen might be in contention there, but I think Hudobin.
If Dallas wins this, and it goes 7 and Dallas wins, I think they give it to Pavelski.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of points.
Yeah, he does. He does. I think Heiskanen's had more of an overall impact, but he's a contender. But if Dallas, let's face it, if Dallas wins it, it's Hudobin.
I don't think this has been Heiskanen's best round, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, but as an overall body of work.
But the Conn Smythe is only the final.
Well, that's what everybody remembers. But the Conn Smythe is the playoff MVP.
No,
yes, it
is. The final.
No, it is
MVP.
not. I will argue to that to no end with you. It's the playoff MVP. Because if you watch watch tonight. If the trophy is given, if the cup is won, they're gonna show the player. Whoever wins it, their playoff numbers. Conn Smythe is for the playoff MVP.
I was under that impression my whole life too. Actually,
absolutely.
I just looked this up and I saw it said final. But you're right. It's the playoffs.
Is it the final or finals?
No, it says playoffs. Oh, final or final? No. We'll start a war with Canada. First of all, it's the Hockey Writers Association that votes for it. So
that's what I mean. It's a popularity contest.
It is a popularity contest in essence. Yeah. But
all right. So we were going to talk about a couple trades, but I think now that we got off sidetracked here into the UFAs, our free agents and all that, free agent frenzy opens October 9th. Which is still just incredibly weird to say because normally the regular season should be starting on that day.
That's the first day of the regular season.
Exactly. It's like the hockey world has been put into like a washing machine and just hit on spin cycle, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But I like it being pushed together, too, because, my favorite parts of the summer are free agent day.
But it's so depressing, too, because once it's over, it's like,
and then it's nothing. 3 months to no hockey. And so now it's going to be draft, free agent.
Yep.
And then it's going to be like a month later, training camp's open.
Yeah.
It's like, Like
but
November,
even though they're already
camp.
talking about pushing off the start of the next regular season until into January. And a big part
because of COVID?
Because, with the COVID thing, that's because they got to get fans in the buildings.
Yeah.
Because the NHL is so dependent on the gate.
Well, I think they might look at how the NFL is doing it.
NFL has the luxury, though, of having a lot of outdoor stadiums.
Right.
So,
but I'm saying
they can a lot more room.
The capacity
right.
thing, but they're probably looking at like What's the biggest amount of capacity we can have?
What's the smallest amount that they can have and be viable?
Here's the biggest problem.
The thing. Yeah.
Here's the biggest problem they're having: border security.
That's
the biggest problem they're having, and it's not getting talked about a lot down here.
Right.
But I see it online. It's getting talked a lot about in Canada.
Right, because
they're like, we don't want these hockey players coming back here.
That travel ban just got what is it? It's not called a travel ban between the U.S. and Canada. It's restrictions or something, right?
Yeah.
Whereas it's still only essential.
Only essential people are allowed out. In
right.
Canada
That's what I mean. It's
Yeah,
so I guess
it's just trucks and stuff like.
It sort of is a travel ban. I mean, it's just kind of the whole idea that.
And you forget, like, they had to get a special federal exemption from Canada to do this tournament.
Yeah.
Like. And that was guys coming in from
all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they've been.
Oh, the Toronto Blue Jays had to play in Buffalo.
That shows again just how lucky and how good the NHL has been with this.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It wasn't just like guys coming from America. It was guys coming from everywhere.
Sure.
So to have no positive COVID tests at all at this point is just crazy.
Absolutely incredible.
But there's talk, and I've seen this on a few posts about having all the Canadian teams move south for the season.
Oof.
And just taking them out of Canada.
But would they go for that, though?
Well, here's the thing.
Do they have a choice?
Look at how much revenue, like you just said, they need fans in the stands.
Yeah.
And Canada's doing much better than the USA. They could maybe even have fans in their stand. So then the other question, other people have turned it around and said, why don't you push all the American teams up north? I'm like, I don't know how the hell they would do that.
You can't.
I mean,
there's
enough rinks in Canada.
There's enough rinks.
Let's get that right.
But fan capacity,
that hurts the smaller market teams too. Like that'd be the end of the Ottawa Senators if they had to come down here and play a season.
Right.
They'd be good. They wouldn't be going into Ottawa and playing in Ottawa next
Canada.
year.
What do you think about that?
But you figure with an NHL team, right? For them to make it even worth it financially, they have to be able to bring in, let's ballpark it, right? About 15,000 fans per game. Okay? And the reason, and with 15,000 fans, I'm talking about in an NHL arena where you have all the amenities.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get away with charging $150 a seat, mid-level or whatever, because you have all those amenities. Not to mention all your corporate suites and all that are paying tens of thousands of dollars per year, right? Yep. So, yes, you can move, we'll just say the Buffalo Sabres. Move them across the border over to Hamilton, right? But does Hamilton have an NHL arena that's going to be able to generate the kind of revenue that's going to make the Buffalo Sabres viable? The answer is no.
No.
The answer is no.
But they do have a lot of big OHL arenas.
They do have big OHL arenas, but are you going to be able to get away with charging $150 a ticket for a mil? You know,
I don't know.
Do they even have corporate suites? Do they?
Listen,
in a big OHL arena.
Absolutely.
So a big OHL arena, you got to remember, and I'm talking by OHL standards,
12,000
outside of Toronto. You're talking about a max of 10.
10, 12, yeah. I think Belleville holds 12, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, Quebec has the biggest one. The Quebec Ramparts. I mean, the Videotron Center. That's what holds 18,000, but they're trying to get an NHL team.
Yeah, that's why they built it to get an NHL team, and Batman went, no.
Yeah, sorry.
We're going to go with Vegas.
Yeah, right. So with that said, hopefully they get this all straightened out.
That's what's going to push it, though.
Yeah.
That it's not going to be training. It's not going to be whatever our numbers are or whatever. It's going to be how do we get people in the stands?
How can we make some revenue?
Because that's a huge trickle effect, too.
How can we make this good with Canada, the government, for this border thing? Because it's a big issue.
Absolutely.
And the AHL is waiting on the NHL.
Yeah.
Oh, and I've seen people saying, like, all the AHL teams should move to Canada. I was like, no, are you kidding me? You want to just bankrupt the AHL?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's where there might not even be an AHL season this year.
And I think what else you got to start looking for is
which
players are going to start playing over in Europe because the European leagues are up and running.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
look at
the SHL in Sweden, the KHL over in Russia. They're
guys over there now.
Yeah, everybody's loaning prospects over there. Yeah,
Anderson's been lighting it up in the Swedish league. He got like 7 points in the first 4 games.
Yeah,
people forget.
Kravtsov's been playing well too.
Kravtsov's been playing in the KHL. He's like a leading scorer.
Yep.
And
people forget that there's actually legitimate professional leagues in Europe now.
And
not quite NHL level, but there's still pro leagues.
Yeah. Here's the other thing that's interesting.
Liga, Finland.
These guys going over there to play. And now they're doing, let's just say these couple of instances, Rangers guys. Anderson, I think he's playing in Liga, and Kravtsov's in the KHL.
Yep.
They're both doing well. Now, let's say camp starts up in November. Are these guys going to want to come back? Even if the Rangers are like, come on back, we're ready to go. Like, they might not.
You know how that's working right now? Right now, those players are still under contract to the Rangers. So they're being what they're called loaned.
Loaned, right.
Yeah.
So those guys don't have a say in it. If the Rangers open up camp and they want them back, they're like, you're under contract to us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're coming back.
I'm glad you're having fun.
Yeah.
But guess what?
But what are they going to do about it if the player just still says no?
Well, I'm sure it turns into a nasty court battle. And
Meanwhile, players playing along in KHL, all of a sudden he breaks his leg.
That's where you got to worry.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always been leery of, like, the World Cup. I mean, it's great to see international competition, right? Or even like the Olympics.
I don't like World Cup. Olympics,
Olympics is great. But you know what? Let's say you're the Rangers, and 2022 is the next Winter Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Lafreniere, you draft him. He's tearing it up for you guys, especially that year. You're on a cup run. You're getting ready to go for a big run. He goes over to Beijing, plays in the Olympics to represent Canada, blows his knee out. Now what? Now you got a gaping hole in your team, and you were counting on him to go on a cup run. You know? I mean, Grant, like I said, the Olympics are.
I think that's the difference, though. What you just said. I think that's the difference between the World Cup and the Olympics, in my opinion. The World Cup, that is not worth it.
Right.
I don't care about the World Cup. It means nothing to me. It's a made-up thing for people to make money.
Yep.
Whereas the Olympics is the Olympics. Like, this has been going on for, over 100 years.
I still like the idea of the Olympics being for, like, the younger players and the amateurs and all that.
Yeah, but we already know that that's bullshit, Scott, because the Russians are still going to send their pros. And that's why that's why it was a fucking miracle on ice, because the Russians are just going to send their pros anyway. We saw that in the last Olympics, that the Russians just send their pros, everyone else sends their amateurs, and then Russia wins the gold. Not that they didn't deserve it or not those guys aren't good, but they're just miles better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, you watch those Red Army films and all that stuff. I bought that Red Army movie.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's a great movie. And that team, outstanding. And when you start to look at those names and you realize this guy ended up defecting, won the cup. This guy ended up defecting, won the cup. These guys won it with Detroit. Like, the Rangers had a guy. The Devils had a guy. Like, that makes a big difference. Those guys were really good. People have this revisionist history, and sadly, I have somewhat of a photographic memory. I remember 1984 Olympics getting crushed. I remember the 1988 Olympics in Calgary. Russia just skate into that gold medal. Like, and the American team was good. The American team in '88 was good. They had Amonte. They had he's missing my head now. After I just said about my memory being so good. But anyway, they had a lot of good guys that made it to the NHL, those 88 Olympics.
84 had LaFontaine. Sarajevo, yeah.
And so it's just like, but those guys were just better. So I don't like it. I don't like it unless you can somehow really level that field. Then I would go with it. I would go with you. Like, if you said it had to be, there was an age restriction or something like that, I might go with you. Like, if you said it had to be, like an under 21 tournament or something like that, I might agree with you.
That'd
Keep
be
it
pretty
amateur.
cool.
Yeah.
But they're not. But the Russians would never agree.
No.
Well, they're not. Well,
They'll never agree, and then they'll just doctor everybody's
I was just going to
birth
say they'll agree, but you're going to get a fake birth certificate.
Yeah, it'll be like the bench warmers, or the guy says, "I am 12." So, but that's my one issue with it. I know we want to get to these UFAs, right?
Yeah. So, real quick, since we got sidetracked a little bit, so free agent frenzy, October 9th. Tons of big names. We don't have anywhere near enough time to go over every huge name out there, but I want to throw a couple out there and see what you guys think, because there's been some rumors circulating and all that. I think it's kind of curious. Let's put it that way. We're going to start with Alex Petrangelo, captain of the St. Louis Blues, led them to their only cup. He's 30 years old, and he is now an unrestricted free agent. His last contract, his AAV, his cap hit was $6.5 million.
Yep.
All right. So apparently talks between him and the St. Louis Blues have broken down. They just can't seem to come to a number. Now, I heard
it was $7.7 million they offered him.
That's, you know what?
I'm betting he won't go below 8.5.
Price-wise, that's kind of a slap in the face. But what was the term? And I think the problem with Petrangelo is going to be term. He's going to want to be secure for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
He's not going to want to have to go through another contract negotiation. There is no better time for him to be negotiating a contract than right now. After just coming off a cup win, being a dominant player like he is. However, if we talked about 1,000 times on this show, 30 kind of seems to be the magical number for us age-wise. Once you get over that, now there are exceptions. But once you hit that 30-year-old mark, it starts to decline. That's Mother Nature, Father Time, whatever you want to call it, taking over.
And I think it matters a little less when you're a defenseman to when you're a forward.
I think so. But still.
Even then, it's probably only 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now the Blues are the only ones that could offer him an 8-year contract the way the current rules read. Everybody else has to offer him 7. Do you think that there's a team out there that's going to give him a 7-year deal?
Yes.
Who's left that can afford to give him a 7-year deal?
That's the other thing. And that's another point I want to bring up before we get too far into this. Because, yes, the salary cap is flat. But there are several teams now working on what they're calling an internal cap, where they don't want to go over $70 million in real dollars.
Yeah.
Reason being, revenue simply isn't there. So, yeah, they can say, well, we're 81, but a lot of teams are going, well, guess what? It's actually a little bit lower than that. So, really, somebody like Petrangelo is going to have to go to a big market team that's got money in the bank.
Yep.
It's also got enough cap space to work him in for what he wants, and that's willing to take on that contract 5, 6, 7 years down the road when all of a sudden he's declining and he's at best a second pair defenseman, and you're still going to have to be faced with reality that you're paying him $8, maybe $9 million a year,
right?
Depending on what it took to get him in. So, who do we think?
I think I don't know if who necessarily is going to get him. I think there are teams right now that are moving guys around to give it a shot. And one of those teams, I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they got more moves to make yet. But one of those teams I think that's in on it or thinking about it is Pittsburgh. They need a good defenseman.
They kind of got a glut now, though, because they just traded for Mike Matheson. And they're still in salary cap hell.
Yeah, they're right
that
up against
Hornquist
the
trade
cap.
didn't help them. They didn't clear any. Clear any cap out.
How much was Matheson's?
Matheson is $4.5 million, and then they took Sevier on too, is at like $1.5 million. Hornquist was at $5.75 million.
Sevier has a 2-way, doesn't he?
No, sir. I mean, they got rid of some term in the idea of Hornquist because he had like 3 years left on that deal. But as far as actual cap numbers, it's a wash. So I'm starting to think that there's got to be bigger moves at play.
I think Pittsburgh's not done.
I don't think they are either.
I don't think they're done.
But they don't have a first round pick to work with anymore. That bullet's gone.
What if you manage to move to Letang?
That's what they're going to have to do.
That's what they're going to have to do.
And now, do you see Letang for Petrangelo as an upgrade? I would, maybe.
Well, yeah.
Probably.
Given injury histories.
Yeah.
Yes,
Given
absolutely.
injury histories.
Don't get me wrong.
Letang's a great player.
Letang's a great guy, yeah.
But you just never know with him when the injury bug's going to hit.
Yeah.
Now, I was reading Toronto wants Petrangelo in the worst way. Toronto of all teams, right?
How?
So, yeah, now this is how crazy it got. I was reading this, I'm going, oh my God. I said, Toronto?
Yeah, every Toronto fan out on the internet thinks that they're getting Petrangelo, and none of them apparently can read the salary cap site because there's no way in holy hell that Toronto is getting Petrangelo.
The only way they can do that is if they move a Nylander or a Marner. That's the only way.
Only way.
Only way they can possibly do it.
They got
Both
are tying up their whole cap.
Exactly.
Yep. That's it.
Boy, and that's why that Tavares
that.
signing just looks worse and worse every day, doesn't it? Doesn't it? But you know, I did a little.
It's the next David Clarkson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with his injury history and it's becoming more and more repetitive.
Pretty
now.
much. But you know who might be a real good fit for Petrangelo? And it's not talked about too much. And they're another team that might have to move a few pieces around to make it happen. Wouldn't Boston be a good fit for him? Think about it. Torrey Krug's going to walk. He's not taking a discount.
That's true.
True.
That's true.
All right.
I didn't think about him, but you're right.
So they've always been dependent on Char being that Rock, that president, he's done. Let's face it.
He's not done, but they're done with him.
Right. No, he's a free agent. He's been signing 1-year deals.
Yeah, but he wants to play again for Boston. I don't think they're going to do it.
But you know what? He would be a great fit with Boston. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Be a mentor to like Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo, a lot of those good young defensemen they got. But, man, wouldn't he just shore that up for him?
Oh, absolutely.
And let's be realistic. I mean, they're actually in good shape because they don't have Marchand or Bergeron on ridiculous contracts. Granted, they're getting older, and they got a couple of years left in term, but they're manageable. They're like, what, $6.5 million each, something like that. Krejci's coming off the books after next season, and he's at $7 million. That's a bit of a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And Pasternak's getting paid what he should be. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You got to pay him. He's a young player like that. You want to keep him in the fold. So my thought is, if they can manage to move that Krejci contract out, if they can do it, they just watch. I know it's not been talked about. This is just me spitballing here. But just watch out for them to be serious players for Petrangelo.
Yep.
Telling you.
I think the Ducks is another possible landing spot.
The problem with the Ducks is they're on an internal cap. They've already said it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're hurting for cash.
And then
because there's not a lot of teams that have actual space. That's the problem too. So that's the whole issue.
I don't know. What about
so
Tampa?
what you're going to see? You're going to see a lot.
Tampa seems to collect really great.
Yeah, I know, right?
At a discount, like
right.
But who knows?
Yeah,
Krug is interesting too because he messes with this a lot because they're kind of similar defensemen.
You know where
if Petrangelo's out there asking for too much and Krug comes in just under that, Petrangelo might be shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah.
You know
maybe,
what I mean?
but they're similar in age. Krug's 28.
Yeah.
And he wants to get paid too.
Yeah.
And you know where there's a lot of smoke and fire with him? Detroit. Believe it or not, of all teams, Detroit
just got Mark Stahl.
Yeah.
Detroit's got a ton of space, though.
They got
they do.
Floor.
They got a ton of space.
That's why they took on the Rangers deal.
And Krug is actually from the Detroit area. The Red Wings were his team growing up and all that. So Torrey Krug's going to have to decide. Does he really want to get paid that bad and have to suffer with the consequences because Detroit isn't going to get better anytime soon? Or do you take a little bit less and try to get to a team that at least isn't, under the cellar floor like Detroit is?
Yeah.
I think that Detroit is like that right now, but if you give them if you give Krug the right term, give him 7 years.
Give him 7 years. Why not? Let him be somebody to build around.
In 2 years, they're going to be rebounded. We know Stevie Y is going to fast track this thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Detroit reminds me a lot of Ottawa right now. Ottawa has a zillion draft picks.
Yeah,
have nobody on major salaries.
Except one team has a good GM.
Right. Well, no, it's not. But listen, Ottawa's problem isn't their GM. Pierre Dorian's actually a very good GM. Ottawa's problem is their owner.
Yeah.
Their owner is like the worst owner in pro hockey. Yeah. And he just keeps sticking his nose in and meddling with everything.
It's like Jimmy Nolan with the Knicks.
Exactly.
Jimmy Nolan can't keep his hands out of puppetrying the Knicks.
Right.
Doesn't touch the Rangers.
Just leaves it alone.
Why?
I heard he
doesn't know anything about hockey.
Nope.
He doesn't watch the games. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
And he's been at our odd to scout guys before. He doesn't know anything about hockey, Jimmy Nolan. But he thinks he knows something about basketball. Thank God. Because holy crap, the Knicks are a dumpster fire for 30 years now. If he had that effect on the Rangers, I'd shoot myself. I'd be a Sabres fan like that.
I saw a Beaverton article, which that's a Canadian. They do spoof articles on hockey about James Nolan. It was just James Nolan just found out he owns a hockey team.
Yeah. But that's what it is. That guy in Ottawa, what's his name?
Eugene Melnick.
Melnick.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can't keep his nose out of it.
No.
Why even have a GM? Why even bother? Because you're just hurting these other GMs you keep bringing in. They never get other jobs because everyone's like, "Where'd you come from? Ottawa?
Nope.
No, you gave Bobby Ryan how much? Which they just bought him out.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one to me. Is Bobby Ryan? Where is he going to wind up? Because he doesn't have to get paid. He's not
going to require a big contract.
That's
he can pop a goal for you when you need it.
Your next Tampa Bay Lightning, Bobby Ryan.
You know what you're going to see more and more of is a lot of the trades like the Rangers and the Red Wings just did.
Yeah.
Future considerations.
Mark Stahl and a second-round pick for a bag of pucks.
Yeah.
It's future considerations.
It's a bag of pucks.
And there's no limit to that either.
Exactly.
I like the idea of Stevie Y sitting there going like, what could I do to help the Rangers in the future?
How could I fleece the Rangers again?
I think that actually this Mark Stahl deal was Stevie Y. Like people were like, oh, did the Red Wings get fleeced in this? I was like, fleeced. I'm just happy that Yzerman didn't bend the Rangers over like he did in St. Louis.
Yeah.
You know what? You know why he got away with that? Is because Stahl only has 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah.
Right? So take a look at the team.
That helps the Rangers.
Like
I'm not even
Islanders.
mad about that. That helps the Rangers a lot.
And
the Islanders are going to have some problems.
Stahl had a no move.
Yeah.
Right.
He waived it. And good on Ranger fandom. Ranger fandom across the board has been like, Mark, thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for the help. Thanks for the assist.
You know what? He was a battler for you guys.
That's why I keep saying that Henrik should do the same thing.
He won't.
Don't get bought out. Offer to be moved. You pick the team.
But Chris, here's the problem.
I know there's tons of goalies.
It's not only tons of goalies, right? Henrik is due $8.5 million. Okay, and that's his cap hit, right? He's got 1 year left. So to move Henrik, even if Henrik said, you know what? Yeah, I'm waiving it. Move me. Any GM in their right
Rangers are going
mind,
to be retaining at least
number
half.
one, he's going to have to retain.
Yeah, I get that.
They're
but
gonna
even
have
if
to do
they
that.
had to retain,
But
half
let me ask you this though too. Okay, to retain half, it's going to be $4.25 million. That's going to be a given. There's no way some other team's going to take it on just for the sake of taking it on.
they could push a team.
Anywhere that
They could push a team to the Rangers saying we'll keep $3 million of it. I think there's enough teams.
What
out
are you
there.
then? What are you willing to give up along with it? Because who is going to want to take Lundqvist at $5 million, even at a $5 million cap hit in a flat cap world? Who's going to want to do that when there are a ton of free agent goalies available out on the market? That because there's so many goalies, the market's flooded, right? So these guys are going to have to take a little bit less than they would normally get in a normal hockey world.
Here's what's going to happen.
So
I'll tell you
another
exactly
GM,
what's going to happen.
If you're another GM, it's like I told you, I'm sitting back, even if I got my eye on Lundqvist. You know, and I always use Colorado as the example because they're the shining example of a team that can really use a goalie, right? If I'm Joe Sakic, why would I offer the Rangers anything when I can sit back and say, yeah, they got to buy him out? Buy him out. Now, not only does your competitor have a cap hit for 2 years to deal with this guy, now you turn around and you say to Henrik, want a shot to win? Come on out. I'll give you $1.5 million. You've already made your money. I'll give you $1.5 million or $2 million. Come on out. And you got a very good, legit chance of being a starting goaltender on this team because Philip Grubauer is a great backup goalie.
Yep.
Francouz, good goalie, very inconsistent, though.
Yep.
You don't think that Henrik Lundqvist wouldn't jump at the chance to go to someplace like Colorado? But Joe Sakic, in his mind, and any GM mind, is going to go, why the heck should I take on a $4.5 million cap hit when I can get the same guy for $1.5 million, $2 million?
Here's what they're going to try to do, the Rangers. They're going to not buy him out in this first window because there's 2 windows to buy a guy out. As long as your team somebody goes to arbitration, which the Rangers can initiate arbitration themselves, even if another player doesn't.
You got Lemieux
right?
and D'Angelo. They can
and
do
you
it
don't
with.
have to go to
more than that too. I had the list with me too. I think Fox. Is it Fox that's coming? Oh, Ryan Strome. I'm sorry, Georgiev.
But
he's up too.
But it doesn't matter because
the problem with the Rangers too, they have 8 forwards under contract, 4 defensemen under contract, and 2 actual goalies under contract, not counting Georgiev.
Your numbers don't mean anything because they
do because you got to fill the roster.
Because you say 4 defensemen, but we don't have 4 defensemen. We have like 8 defensemen.
But I said 4 under contract.
Yeah, we got all these prospects still, though.
Right,
you're missing those guys.
But you're not going to bring up. You're not going to put all prospects on your defense.
You're not thinking of Keandre Miller, who they think is ready.
Keandre Miller
You're not
is
talking
not
about
ready.
Nils Lundqvist, who they think is ready. They're not talking about who's the other guy they got there. He didn't play. Hayek.
Yeah.
Hayek is playing. So. They got guys they can bring up to fill defensive roles that they believe are NHL ready.
Keandre Miller and Nils Lundqvist do not start in the NHL this year, and I'll tell you why. They need seasoning in the AHL. I'm telling you, there are very few players. Very few.
I'm telling you.
Look at Campbell Cackle last year. Don't you think Campbell Cackle wouldn't have been much better served playing half the season in the AHL just to get used to the North American ranks and the North American style game?
Listen, I don't disagree with the AHL seasoning. I'm just saying the Rangers aren't afraid to put the guy right into that.
And I'll tell you something further. I watched K'Andre Miller a lot at Wisconsin. I watched him in the World Junior Championships.
Mm-hmm.
Great raw prospect.
Mm-hmm.
He needs work in the defensive zone. He looked lost in the defensive zone sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can't have that.
Well, here's the thing.
Not in the NHL. Don't throw this kid to the wolves and wreck him.
But my point is the arbitration. They don't have to go to arbitration. They just have to initiate it. So and the Rangers can initiate it from their side. As long as any arbitration is initiated, they get a second buyout window. So
there's a second buyout window this time anyway.
What's that?
There's a second buyout window this time anyway.
Regardless?
Yes.
All right. Well, this is what I was researching. That's how it would work.
This year
normally.
only because of everything being screwed up.
So they're not going to buy him out in the first window. They're going to let it go, see how these other goalies filter out.
Yeah.
Then try to make a deal. If they don't get one done, then they might buy it out, and your thing with Sakic can take place.
Yeah.
I am betting that doesn't happen. I think they're going to get something done, or potentially, if they think about keeping him, I don't think they will. A lot of people say they won't, and I was not on the Lundqvist buyout wagon at all. But seeing as how much money it will save this year,
I mean
it's $3 million basically. It's
the cap hit will be if they buy him out now. The cap hit is 5.5 this year, 1.5 next year.
Yeah. Right, so it saves them three something this year. Next year you have to deal with that amount.
But it's only $1.5 million.
Yeah, it's not Shattenkirk.
So it's really it's not that bad.
Yeah,
and they just cleared up $5 3/4 million.
And what else too?
Stall.
You don't have that hanging over your head.
Yeah,
right. You don't want that hanging over your head.
I still think it would be good for Henrik to make a list, see what we could do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why Henrik won't retire, and it's not just the money. I'm sure a big part of it is the money, because would you walk away from $8.5 million? I certainly wouldn't. If I was owed $8.5 million, I wouldn't.
Should retire.
I wouldn't say no, but I'm just saying there's a lot on social media. I mean, take that for what it's worth. Oh, he should do right by the team and retire. And it's like these same people, really? Because if somebody owed you $8.5 million, and you were going to lose that by saying, "Oh, I'm going to do it for the team."
You got to also
give me a break.
You got to also remember, Scott.
Give me a break.
This isn't like
I know it's fantasy land.
It's not Minnesota that he plays for, and it's not Florida Panthers.
But going back to what I was saying,
he gets a lot of money. It's more than $8.5 million from the deals he's got going on in New York.
But the other reason
deals and whatever else.
But the other reason that he won't retire, and just as important as the money, is he hasn't won the cup.
And,
I know. Any player getting towards the end. Why, like Ray Bork agreed to go to Colorado.
That's what I said.
You know, that type of thing. So
and the thing is, the thing that I think Henrik needs to come to terms with is that he really isn't a starter anymore.
No, he's not.
I don't think he's a starter.
Not.
That's the problem. That's the problem with him staying in New York.
Right.
That's the biggest problem. Not your cap and how many guys and how many RFAs, because they just moved Stahl. That's
Team
almost
chemistry.
$6 million.
Yeah, they just freed up.
They just figured out how to get some more space by Stahl agreeing to leave, which is great. Here's the thing. So now they got this extra room they weren't counting on. And now you see guys like Cirelli's going to hit the market.
You don't want to do that because Cirelli will cost you a fortune because he's an RFA.
Taylor Hall's hitting the market. And we got a whole list of other like second line, third line guys that are hitting the market.
But the problem is if you offer Cirelli, get ready to give up at least 2 to 3 first-round picks. Because that's the way an RFA works, right? If you offer him the big contract, guess what? You're mortgaging your future.
Yep.
You're mortgaging it. And that's why the RFA system stinks for younger players, because they basically almost have to eat it in the end. I mean, look at Nylander. He was about the only one who really tried to buck the system, and he ended up getting what they were going to pay him anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much.
So with all that said, you just mentioned the one last guy I want to talk about, because like I said, there are so many free agents out there that we could talk about them all day and all night. Taylor Hall, to me, is like the enigma of the NHL, right?
Yeah.
So that's the guy that just can't catch a break. You know, if you look at the terrible teams they ended up on, Taylor Hall, to me, I don't want to say he's overrated, but there's really no nice way to put it, too. Because he had that one fantastic year where he won the Hart Trophy. Now, he's a excellent player. Excellent. But is he worth long-term top dollar basically for the rest of his career? He's 28 years old right now.
Oh, at 28 now, that's a better than being 30 and trying to sign him to a big contract, I think. Mm-hmm. But again, it goes back to Petrangelo. Who can afford him for what he wants to get?
That's the whole thing. Now, again, if you're a contender, Taylor Hall needs to be on a contender.
Absolutely. Yeah. He can't be. He can't be on Arizona. He can't be on the Devils. Those are.
Arizona would have actually been a good spot for him, to be perfectly honest with you, because they got pieces coming together. The only problem is that team's a complete dumpster fire.
Now they're screwed.
Everything that happened internally. Yeah. So Taylor Hall absolutely needs to be on a contender.
Yep.
For him to take his career to the next level. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but he's been on terrible teams for so long.
Yep.
So long that I honestly think he'd be willing to eat a little bit just to be able to get to some team that can actually
get through the
playoffs.
Him a
shot.
Yeah.
Bailing Taylor Hall? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's getting a little carried away, to be perfectly honest with you. But who do you guys think? Is there a dark horse contender out there?
I don't even know who would try to go after him.
Are the Flyers?
The Flyers are starting to get a little tight.
Okay.
You know where he would work? You know who could actually really use him?
I think the Sharks could use him, but I don't think they have the room.
The Sharks are in
in cap hell.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know who could really use him? Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville
they
could
probably
use
have
him.
the room too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that too is because Philip Forsberg is injured all the time.
Yep.
Philip Forsberg drives that offense.
Do you think he just says, "Screw it, I want my payday in maybe Florida or"?
Well, if he says screw it and I want my payday, he's going to end up in like Detroit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
be
the
the worst place for him, I don't think.
No, but you know what? He's so sick of losing. He doesn't want to lose anymore.
Yeah, but a year or two in Detroit, man, I'm telling you, I think Detroit.
You know who else to watch?
Yzerman's
you know who else to watch out for?
Start building
and
that team.
I'm telling you, you know who else to watch out for? Chicago. Chicago's finally clearing cap space.
Yeah. Them too. Yeah.
They're finally clearing cap space, and they're a team that's back on the rise a little bit. Does
St. Louis have the room?
No, because they can't even get
Petrangelo.
Right. Well, they just.
But they also. But you know who else and it always comes down and around to this. Guess who? Colorado. Colorado's got a ton of cap space.
Yeah.
Tons, and they're going to have it for the next 3 to 4 years.
Could you imagine?
And McKinnon has already come out and said, he goes, look, his contract's up in 2 years, I think it is. And he's already said, he goes, I'm willing to take the discount. Yeah. I'm willing to take the discount to keep this team together. I want to win.
Yeah.
I want to win.
That would be a good fit.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
Taylor Hall would.
I'm glad the Rangers don't play in the West.
I know, right? So I would expect to see the Colorado Avalanche busy going into this free agency season.
Yeah.
I think you might even see a trade or two out of them.
What about the Canucks?
They can't. They're jammed as it is, and they want Markstrom and Toffoli back.
If they don't.
And don't forget, they got to pay Pettersson and Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
Eventually, so they can't lock into any crazy long-term contracts either. Yeah.
I mean, if they don't get Markstrom back and they don't get Toffoli back because they're both walkable,
right?
Those guys are UFAs too.
Yep.
That gives them maybe enough room to make a shot at Hall.
Maybe. Could be.
Depends how,
could be an out of nowhere candidate.
Yeah, I mean they could structure it higher now.
What about Calgary?
Lower. Calgary.
I was just going to say Calgary.
Thought. Whenever I think Vancouver, I think Calgary.
What about Calgary?
I don't think Taylor Hall wants to go back to Alberta.
No, he's from Calgary.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's from Calgary. So
and he played for the Oilers.
Oh, let's put it this way.
Burn him alive in Calgary. That's why their team's called the Flames.
Yeah, right. Taylor Trojan Horse Hall, right?
The second he does the first game, he doesn't put up a point.
Yeah, that'll be it.
That's right.
That'll be it.
Yeah, they come marching to the arena with tanks of gasoline. Where is he?
So speaking of wingers, one more big trade that could be someday on the horizon. I'm hearing an awful lot about Patrick Laine moving out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he'll get a king's ransom. Even though I don't know if I would pay it. To be honest with you, I don't know if I would go crazy.
Here's the thing you got to look at: is Winnipeg's problems in the playoffs the result of Line not stepping up, or is it the result of just bad luck, bad coaching, bad goaltending?
They need help
whatever
on
it
defense.
is, defense.
That's what they need.
You know what I mean? Buffalo not playing. You know, there's so many other factors that go.
I think that was a big impact to that team.
Losses.
That might be an interesting hockey trade to be made. We're not talking about prospects and picks and all that. That might be somewhere down the road an interesting, like a 1-for-1 big blockbuster deal that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like the Seth Jones for Ryan Johansson deal.
Yeah, but
like
who's gonna do it? Who's gonna move?
Right.
For Line
Right.
It's under deal. That's willing to go to Winnipeg. Because if they have a no move clause, it's going to be
It's going to be a younger player. It's not going to be somebody who's established already and has a no move. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a younger player for a younger player kind of deal.
Yeah.
I don't know any team that would give that up for Line
you'd be surprised.
Except maybe like somebody like Minnesota. I don't know what they have to give.
Yeah.
But you're going to be like, take Parisi.
You know who?
Yeah, okay.
You know who they're talking about? Matt Dumba. Matt Dumba getting moved because now they got 3 defensemen under big contracts, and they're worried about the expansion draft.
Yeah.
And they're worried about losing Dumba for nothing.
Yeah.
Yep. This expansion draft is going to screw up a lot of stuff.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
yes,
lot
it
of
is.
Stuff. It's funny, too, because I was just looking at that expansion draft, and the guys that lost, and, like, the Rangers, like, who they lost, and I'm like, whatever happened to that guy? Because I don't think he's even playing in the league anymore.
Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it?
Nope.
Oscar Lindbergh.
Just how much Vegas
up-and-coming
fleeced
star
everybody.
for the Rangers. We were
gone.
And he played, like, really great for Vegas the first, 2-3 weeks. I think he was, like, at the top of their score sheet. I think he had, like, 7 or 8 points or something like that. And then he fell off the map. He's back in Europe.
Yep. Unbelievable, isn't it? So there's some food for thought for the offseason, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I hope it all gets done. I hope they don't have to push off the season.
I hope not either.
No, yeah.
Let's see what happens.
The sooner we can get back here and talk hockey again, the better.
Absolutely. Just want to say it's been a lot of fun working with all you guys.
It's been a great season.
Great season.
Glad we could come back.
Exactly. You guys have been fantastic for us. We want to get back to next season as soon as possible. And don't really want to cut the conversation short, but my daughter's doing virtual learning, so I got to get back and make sure that she's actually doing virtual learning. So, with that said, for Chris Pizzotti, for Yoshi, and Z, the silent partner behind the studio over there, I'm Scott Kimball. We're signing off for the season. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you in a bit.
Enjoy the final.
See ya.